Good morning. Welcome to the Business, Housing and Zoning Committee. I will call this regular meeting in order for November 13, 2025. My name is Jamal Osman, and I'm the chair of this committee. Before we begin the meeting, I want to remind everybody that this meeting are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. They include real-time captioning to increase the accessibility of our proceeding to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. We'll be using speaker management, so please sign up. At this time, I'll ask clerk to call the roll so we can verify a quorum.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chavez.
Present.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Present.
And Chair Osman.
Present.
There are 5 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Our agenda is front of us. We'll be beginning with the consent agenda. Consent agenda includes item 8 through 25. Item 8 is approving 3 liquor licenses. Item 9 is approving 7 liquor license renewals. Item 10 is approving 13 gambling license renewals. Item 11 is accepting a grant from the state for dislocated workers. Item 12 is approving decertification for 3 TIF districts. Item 13 is approving a comprehensive plan amendment to the River North development for the property at 201 West Broadway. Item 14 is authorizing modification to the NOAA Preservation Fund for the Kermit Building. Item 15 is authorizing amendment to the contract with KMA Development for the property at 1200 West Broadway. Item 16 is approving a new street name of Kirk Washington Jr., submitted by Councilmember Allison. Item 17 is also approving a new street name of Cheeseyoung, also submitted by Councilmember Allison. Item 18 is approving an appropriation for demolishing 2 city-owned properties. Item 19 is approving rested land sales for emergency stabilization pilot program for to homes for homies. Item 20 is setting a public hearing for December 2nd to consider amendment to the land sale side yard property resolutions. Item 21 is setting a public hearing for December 2nd to consider modification to the tax increment financing plan for 59 TIF districts. Item 22nd is setting a public hearing for December 2nd to consider 3 city planning commission appointments. Item 23 is setting a public hearing for December 2nd to consider an ordinance related to the demolition and wrecking of structures. Item 24 is setting a public hearing for December 2nd to consider an ordinance related to the tenant protection and opportunity to purchase. And lastly, item 25 is setting a public hearing for December 2nd to consider approving a special assessment for the property at 202 9th Street South. With that, is there any of my colleagues have any questions? Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I'd just like to pull item 24 for discussion, please.
Right, item 24 for discussion. Are there anyone else? I'd like to recognize we have been joined by Councilmember Jenkins. With that, I move approval for all items except item 24. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Now, Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Osman. Just a couple questions. Item 24 is setting the public hearing for the TOPA ordinance, and I've had quite a few people reach out. And a couple of the questions I've been asked are about why this wasn't reintroduced. And I think we started having questions on this subject back in February or so of 2024, and this is the first that most people are hearing about it since then. It went back for some staff work, so just wondering why it wasn't reintroduced and why we're just setting a public hearing for it instead of going through the reintroduction process.
Director Eric Hansen.
Chair Osman, Councilmember Vita, my name is Eric Hansen. I'm the Director of CPED. We will get you the date, but this was introduced separately a while ago for tenant opportunity to purchase. There's also a community opportunity to purchase, or which came forward to the council as the Affordable Housing Preservation Ordinance. That was also introduced, and that went through the City Council last year. But this one was properly introduced. I'll get you the date for it.
Is this the one from February of 2024?
I think it's that time.
Okay, and so has there been any engagement around this since it was introduced in February of 2024?
Councilmember Osman, Councilmember Vita, there's been engagement around opportunities to purchase ordinances through the Affordable Housing Preservation Ordinance that went through. And the authors have been working on engagement. Those authors are not on this committee. It's Vice President Chugtai and Councilmember Ellison. We do not have that prepped for the conversation with the council today, but we can get you that information about engagement.
So there hasn't been. Yeah, any information you can give me about engagement would be great, but I think I'm more interested in information around stakeholder engagement. You know, when this was originally brought up, there were lots of landlords and other folks who had been talking to us about hopefully having a voice at the table over that period of time that it would take for us to pass something, and I'm just concerned that that hasn't happened in this year, over a year, because it was February of 2024. So just wondering if someone could, and that would be a staff directive, please, clerks, to just give us the information on what engagement has happened from staff to, I'm not necessarily asking for council member engagement. I'd like to know how staff has been engaging folks.
Chair Osmond, if I may, I would like to. We've been working with the authors. The authors have been kind of guiding this process. So we'll be working with them to respond to the inquiry from you, Councilmember Vita.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
That's it, Chair.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I just want to get on cue to speak on item number 24, the TOPA ordinance. I know we're just setting a public hearing, but I am excited that this is finally coming before the City Council. The Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act is an opportunity to increase home ownership opportunities and give renters the opportunity to purchase a building. This ordinance is really important to my constituents in Ward 9. It is something that I hear on a practically daily basis on why it is needed to establish a particular ordinance in our city. I think about Miss Linda in the Powderhorn Park neighborhood, that if we had this policy in place, perhaps would have been in a different situation rather than neighbors in Powderhorn Park having to come together and fundraise to make sure that she could stay in her home and not be displaced. And heard multiple instances on the ways that anti-displacement measures like TOPA can help keep people in their homes and increase home ownership, particularly those in our Black, Brown, and Native and people of color communities who disproportionately don't have access to home ownership. So I at least wanted to talk about why I'm super excited that my colleagues are bringing forward the TOPA ordinance, and I look forward to approving that when the time comes.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I will move approval for setting a public, item 24, for setting a public hearing for December 2nd. All those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right, our first item is of public hearing is an ordinance related to the heritage preservation regulation. This item was continued our last meeting on October 28th, and this is before us. I'll ask staff to give us a presentation on this.
Good morning, Chair Osman and committee members. My name is Andrea Burke, and I am the supervisor of the Historic Preservation Team in CPED. I'm here today to give a quick update on this agenda item, which was continued from the October 28th, 2025 BIZ committee meeting. CPED has completed an update to the city's Heritage Preservation Ordinance, which is Title 23, Chapter 599. The last time this code was updated was in 2001. Since then, we've rewritten the ordinance to make it clearer, more consistent, and better suited to today's needs for reviewing, evaluating, and protecting historic and potentially historic places in Minneapolis. At the October 28th meeting, staff gave a presentation that explained the proposed changes, and today staff is recommending that the BIZ committee support and approve the updated Chapter 599 text as written. That concludes my update, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, with that, we are going to proceed, taking the public comments. I believe the item, public comment was open. Are there anyone who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, close the public hearing and recognize Councilmember Chowdhury, Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Osman. Appreciate staff's time in this past committee meeting and the current one today. I would like to move this ordinance forward for approval.
All right. With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those, I'm sorry, were you,
I'm in favor of the ordinance. I just wanted to speak to a couple of what
Okay.
the improvements that I think are happening through this ordinance for public transparency. What I think has been done here that's really positive, and thank the staff for their work, is just making the process clearer for identifying potential landmarks in historic districts and reviewing demolition requests. Reviewing design changes will make it easier for applicants. This is pertinent to another discussion item on the agenda today. It also streamlines design changes or review of design changes in historic districts and makes that faster, making historic tax credit projects eligible for administrative review instead of a public hearing. So that also streamlines that process, and improving cost recovery with a 20% increase in application fees. That's also good for the city to be able to staff this work. So I just wanted to highlight some of those improvements and give my support for this ordinance.
okay, thank you so much. Just gonna repeat with that motion from Councilman Vice Chair Chowdhury, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, next we have a liquor and sidewalk cafe license application submitted by Bobby Kajun. I welcome Greg from CPED to give us a presentation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chair Osmond, committee members. I'm District Supervisor Craig Eliason with Licenses and Consumer Services. Today I'm presenting an application from Baby Doll LLC, doing business as Baby Cajun, located at 1221 West Lake Street, Suite 112 in Ward 10. The applicant is requesting an on-sale liquor, limited entertainment with Sunday sales and sidewalk cafe licenses. If approved, they intend to offer casual dining with occasional live music and DJ entertainment. They will offer seating for 81 patrons inside and 38 seats on a sidewalk cafe located alongside West Lake Street and Fremont Avenue South. There will be no business license operating conditions for this license. The hours of operation indoors are from noon to midnight daily, and outdoors on the sidewalk cafe, noon to 10 p.m. daily. On October 23rd, 2025, 171 public hearing notices were sent to residents, property owners, and posted on all residential buildings with 4 or more units within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to the South Uptown Neighborhood Association, the Uptown Business Association, and Vice President Chugtai. We have received 1 response in support from the community regarding this application. That respondent also wanted to express his desire that Baby Cajun advertise to its customers the availability of off-street parking and to be mindful, to remind customers to be mindful of the neighbors when leaving at night. A review of any complaints, 311 calls, police calls, found no significant issues concerning the business and issuance of these licenses. The Licenses and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of an on-sale liquor, limited entertainment with Sunday sales, and sidewalk cafe licenses. This concludes my presentation, and at this time, I will stand for any comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing, and I see here the owners. I would like to recognize Daniel Christians. Yes, welcome, and both of you come here.
Thank you, Chair Osmond, council members. Thank you for your time this morning. My name is Daniel Christians. I'm counsel for Ms. Buntavillay and Baby Cajun. Ms. Buntavillay will express it herself. So I just want to say I'm excited for another restaurant to open up in the area. I'm here essentially to answer any questions that may come up or assist Ms. Buntavillay, but with that, I will be quiet and give her the floor here.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Sue, the owner of Baby Cajun. I'm excited to serve seafood boil to everybody and community. If everybody has any question or want some seafood boil, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I will move this item for approval. I'm really excited to see the former Buffalo Wild Wings space right in Uptown have a new restaurant, and it's been so great seeing just in the last few weeks several new restaurants coming through for approval in Uptown. Dream State Cafe and then Chiba Hut last week, and now you, and it's great. It's really wonderful to see your activation of the West Lake Street corridor, so thank you so much for doing business in the area, and I'll move this item for approval.
Thank you. With that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. Next is public hearing is an extended hours operation license application submitted by U Tobacco at 808 Washington Avenue Southeast. I'll welcome Business License Manager Amy Lingo to give us brief presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Osmond and committee members. I'm Manager Amy Lingo with Licenses and Consumer Services. I'm presenting an application from Zane Incorporated, DBA, as U Tobacco, located at 808 Washington Avenue Southeast in Ward 2. The applicant is requesting an extended hours of operation license. If approved, they intend to extend their hours of operation to the current business, a tobacco store with confectionery section, until 3 a.m. daily. This location recently opened October 7, 2025.
Continue.
The business has agreed that for the first 6 months, they will close at 2 a.m., and if there are no issues, then they will continue to the 3 a.m. as proposed. The hours of operation are the current hours for that area are 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. Their proposed hours are 7:30 a.m. to 2 a.m. 7 days a week for the first 6 months, and then afterwards 7:30 a.m. to 3 a.m. daily. On October 20th, 2025, 44 public hearing notices were sent to residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to the Prospect Park Neighborhood Association and Councilmember Wansley. We have received 2 comments from the community, both of which are in opposition. Their concerns are the proposed hours being too late, negative impact on nightlife, and the promoting of the use of tobacco. A review of any complaints, 311 calls, police calls, and any operating conditions have been completed. The 2nd Police Precinct met with the owner and have signed off on their security and safety plan. The police also commented that the owners have worked closely with them at their sister location and have been very responsive to any of their needs, whether for problems with late-night crowds or providing video evidence to help identifying issues that are in proximity but not necessarily related to their original business. No significant issues concerning this business and issue of licenses have been found. The Licenses and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of the extended hours of operation license, with the exception of them being open until 2 a.m. for the first 6 months, and then 3 a.m. afterwards if there are no issues. This concludes my presentation. At this time, I will stand for any comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing, and I see here the U Tobacco, Mustafa. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Mustafa El Sayed. I'm one of the owners of U Tobacco. We're a family-owned business. Fortunately, my dad wasn't feeling too well today to come with me, so it's just me today. We're here applying for extended hours of operation until 3 a.m. We've done it for another business for about 25 years. We've been good at it, so. Any questions?
No, thank you so much for your testimony. Are there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing up. And if I can have Manager Amy Lingo, I do have a few questions. I think the concern from the residents are valid because this area, sometimes we have crimes that take place around here. I know the business has been around for a while and hasn't been any problem, but what is the current hours they have right now? Is it until?
So the current hours for this location is 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 11 p.m., Friday and Saturday. It is of note that in proximity to this location, there are other extended hours until 3 a.m. The CVS and the Raising Cane's are practically next door, and there are approximately 8 bars with 2 a.m. licenses within several blocks as well. But the current locations for the zoning of the area are 10 p.m. closure Sunday through Thursday, 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday.
Okay, wonderful. And this first 6 months is until 2 and then 3. Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, all right. I apologize, Councilmember Jenkins. I know you're as. Okay, great, thank you. I will approve this item, but also definitely talk to the owner and say that, safety is very important in Dickintown students, and we'll hopefully assess those 6 months and see how things go, and then come back and decide where we go from there. But with that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, next item is we have another extended hours operation license application submitted by Sip of Silk at 333 Horn Boulevard. I welcome Ben Zeno from Business, did I say that right?
You actually did.
Yes, from Business License to give us presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Osmond and committee members. I am Licensed Inspector Ben Zinnel with Licenses and Consumer Services. I'm presenting an application from Sip of Silk Incorporation, doing business as Sip of Silk, located at 333 Huron Boulevard Southeast in Ward 2. The applicant is requesting an extended hours of operation license. If approved, they intend to extend the hours of their operation to their current business, which is a coffee house and cafe that serves food and non-alcoholic drinks with no live entertainment. They are asking for approval to be open till 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and till midnight on Friday and Saturday. Sip of Silk is a 72-seat sit-down coffee house and cafe that recently opened. This space has been vacant for many years, and they're the first tenant in this building, so it's good to slowly fill this building up with tenants. Current hours are just till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday until 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. They're just proposing the one additional hour, so to be open till 11 p.m. on weekdays and midnight on weekends. On October 20th, 36 public hearing notices were sent to residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to the Prospect Park Neighborhood Association and Councilmember Wansley. We have received no comment from the community. A review of the complaints, 311 calls, police calls, and any operating conditions, I found no significant issues concerning the business and issuance of the license. The MPD 2nd Precinct met with the business and found no issues and signed off on their safety and security plan. The Licenses and Consumer Service Division recommends approval of an extended hours of operation license. This concludes my presentation at this time, and I will stand for any comments or questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing and recognize Ahmed. Yes, sir, come on. Abdul Hamid. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Ahmed. I'm one of the owners of the new cafe opened at Sip of Silk. Just wanted to obviously apply for the extended license hour, to welcome, anyone that wants to come in. We're just a coffee house. We serve panini press sandwiches, waffles, variety of pastries, hopefully coming soon, and obviously a variety of drinks. So, yeah, just hoping everything goes well. And just want to say, Ms. Chowdhury, it was very nice to see you last week on the grand opening, so thank you so much. And if you guys have any comments or concerns, just let me know.
Right. Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there anyone who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, recognize Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osman, and thank you so much for opening up this business. I understand that this is a business that you opened up with your wife,
My cousin.
your cousin, and your family. Yes, but I think I got a chance to meet your wife.
No, it's, the other owner is...
Okay, sorry. I met somebody's wife. She's like, I'm so-and-so's wife, but it was not your wife.
Oh, yeah, thank
Whoever
you so
that
much.
was, she was lovely. I met somebody's wife. But I am really excited to move this forward for approval because I think this part of campus needs a type of coffee shop like this, but also just having an area that's open longer for students to study. And also on the weekends, not everybody goes out and drinks. And so having a place where you can come together and gather on the weekends and have coffee, have a panini, I think is a really great addition to campus life. So thank you for opening up your business, and I wish you good luck.
All right. I just want to make sure that I close the public hearing. On that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing for 2025 levy for special assessment. I welcome Nick Magrino from Regulatory Services to present that. Welcome.
All right. Good morning, Chair Osman and committee members. I'm Nick Magrino from Regulatory Services, here to present the 2025 Special Assessment Levy for property-related violations. This is an annual item that we do to approve all of the unpaid fees and fines that were issued by several city departments for things like administrative citations, reinspection fees, nuisance abatement, which includes things like mowing lawns, picking up trash, cutting vegetation, boarding buildings. It also includes the vacant building registration, property demolition, and renter relocation assistance. As part of this process, we send notice of intent to assess letters throughout the year. That gives people the opportunity to appeal their assessments to an administrative hearing officer. We had 22 of those hearings in 2025, with one exception that I'll talk about in a few minutes. That notice of intent to assess letter outlines people's options for prepayment, appeal to district court, or going to an administrative hearing officer. It also mentions the interest rate that's applied to special assessments. We did have a total levy, this is as of October 31st, of about $4.2 million. This includes all the different things that are listed under there. We did have a few new items this year. The first item that I draw your attention to is the public health cleanup. That's conducted under a different state statute than the rest of the assessments that are part of the levy. There's no interest applied to that one, and there's also no public hearing requirement. It's a little bit less prescriptive than the regular statute that we assess these under. We did give the property owner an opportunity to file a written objection by October 20th, which we didn't receive, but it is part of the levy that's being considered here today. We also have administrative citations from Public Works, which we haven't done in a few years. This is for the combined sewer overflow and rain leader disconnect program. That's the program where we're trying to get private property owners to disconnect their storm water drainage from the sanitary sewer, and they've started issuing citations that are accessible for that violation again. And then the third new thing is that we have the prolonged vacancy enforcement administrative citations. Those are regular Chapter 2 administrative citations, but those were issued pursuant to a policy change and ordinance change about a year ago, where we take properties off the vacant building registration after 2 years and instead move to issuing monthly administrative citations. And those are starting to now work their way through the process. And we have a little under $400,000 that are associated with that program. And I believe we do have a presentation coming up from Inspection Services, if not the next biz cycle meeting, then the next one. And I would also note with the time change that we had, typically this meeting is at 1:30. There were notices that went out that had 1:30 on them, and so I will be back at 1:30, and if anybody does appear for that, I'll be prepared to settle those cases, or if we're not able to settle, we would reset them to next year to make sure that we still meet that public hearing requirement. And I'd be happy to stand for any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I will open the public hearing and see if anyone who would like to speak on this item. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and council members. I am Claire Glenn. I'm Hamoudi Sabri's attorney. It's my understanding that the city is seeking to levy fines assessed against Mr. Sabri's property in the capacity of the corporate entity, which is M&S Properties. As the council members may be aware, this is pertaining to the encampment that was on Mr. Sabri's private property. I did just want to note several things for your consideration. First, Mr. Sabri has been fined personally for these expenses, and those administrative hearings are currently pending. We have an administrative hearing set for November 21st, in which I'm representing Mr. Sabri. The city also, in addition, sued Mr. Sabri for injunctive relief and damages in district court. I'm representing Mr. Sabri in that case, and Mark Kallenbach, who's also here, is representing the corporate entity in that case. We actually had a hearing just this morning. We had no notice of this tax levy. As you heard, there was one exception to the hearing that was provided apparently to everyone else. Mr. Sabri is my understanding that he was that exception. So Mr. Sabri was not provided any opportunity to dispute this. We just received last night at 4:00 p.m., and because I was with my child, I did not see it until very late last night, a letter from Mr. Magrino that was indicating that this meeting would be happening at 1:30 today, and indicating that that time was incorrect. That letter was never provided to us previously, despite the fact that I have been working and communicating with Mr. Magrino repeatedly over the past several weeks about the administrative hearing that's pending against Mr. Sabri in his personal capacity. I'm very concerned that the city is essentially trying to triple dip, not just double dip, in assessing fines against Mr. Sabri, and that in this case it is happening without any meaningful due process. I understand my time is up. Because I did not have an opportunity to submit any written objection, if I may just briefly continue.
If you can wrap it up.
Yes.
Quickly.
And just very quickly, just to note, in the district court case, which we had a hearing in this morning, it is undisputed that Mr. Sabri was requesting from the city trash, sanitation, and porta potty services at the encampment, and that it is undisputed that the city refused to provide those services. It is also undisputed that Mr. Sabri paid out of his own personal pocket to get porta potties at that location, and it was the city that ordered the porta potties removed. So essentially, assessing these fines against Mr. Sabri's corporate entity at the same time that the city is going after him personally on multiple different venues at the same time on top of the fact that Mr. Sabri attempted to have these costs mitigated through proactive services, and now the city is trying to assess these on the back end, it's just simply unfair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I see Mr. Sabri walking. Do you? Nope. All right. Anyone else? See none, close the public hearing and recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I had a question for staff. The prolonged vacancy enforcement is a new tool that the city has put into place recently. The city council passed the ordinance, I believe, last year, and now this year it's gone into effect. And I know there are several properties that are being assessed these monthly increases for vacancy, and I'm wondering what happens when they're not paid. And the reason I ask is because a property that we'll be discussing later in the agenda has, I think, tens of thousands of unpaid prolonged vacancy enforcement fees. So what does happen in that case?
Chair Osman and Councilmember Cashman. So people do have the ability to pay that to the city as an administrative citation as they're receiving it, and then if it's unpaid at the end of the year, it goes on the taxes, which is what this item's about. It kind of depends, but we put it on the taxes, and if it's not paid, eventually the property owner will lose the property in tax forfeiture, which takes could take 3 to 5 years. We do receive payments for the county if we get those payments. But it does take a little while to recoup that money.
Okay, thanks. It's just a bit of a concern because in so many of these cases, at least the ones in my ward, the property owners are unreachable and, sometimes not making these payments. And so I'm glad to hear that there's a process to make sure that it does get paid, or that the city has the authority to take some action later on when it goes unpaid. That's the only question I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Just a quick question. If you can address the point that was raised about somebody not receiving a notice, is there anything you can tell us on that?
Yeah, for sure, Chair Osman. So we did send a notice October 3rd to M&S Properties, the owner of that lot, with the information about what the assessment was for, how much it was for, and how to submit a written objection. That wasn't returned by the post office, and so it's presumed to have been delivered. I did send yesterday an email, and I called Mr. Sabri's attorney when I noticed that the time was incorrect, and it does appear that they are here. I do want to clarify, thanks for asking the question. So there are, as Ms. Glenn was saying, 3 different issues that are all obviously related, but they are different issues where we have the public health cleanup, and that was conducted under Minnesota statutes, chapter 145A, and we sent the notice to Mr. Sabri citing that, giving him an opportunity to clean up the property. He didn't do that by the due date, so the city ultimately went out and did the cleanup, and that's what the assessment is for. Separate from that, there are administrative citations that are issued by the health department for the noncompliance, and there is a hearing scheduled for that on November 21st. We do have a pre-hearing conference scheduled with the hearing officer this afternoon to go over some of those legal issues. And then there is also, thirdly, the lawsuit initiated by the city in district court. So there's 3 different issues that are all obviously a little bit related, but they're not the same.
Thank you so much. I think there's more questions. I'll recognize Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Magrino, for answering some questions. I'm going to just have you repeat yourself on what the administrative hearing is for on the 21st.
Yes, so the Chair Osman and Councilmember Chowdhury. So the health department issued administrative citations for violations of city ordinance and state statute prior to the lot being cleaned up. There's, off the top of my head, I think 6 or 7 that were timely appealed, and those will be considered at the hearing next week.
Okay, so different part of our code.
Yes, that's
entirely.
correct.
Okay, and then my next question is for the public health cleanups that occurred on July 25th and September 16th, was M&S Properties notified that the cleanup was going to happen, and if they didn't clean up, like, they would be assessed for it? before the cleanup occurred?
There was, Chair Osmond and Councilmember Chowdhury, there was the health department sent a notice to Mr. Sabri at his address citing the state statutes for the public health cleanup and saying that if it weren't complete by a certain date, that the city would do it. And then ultimately we did end up completing that, or the Public Works Department ended up completing the cleanup.
And that's different than this letter dated October 3rd, 2025.
That is the same matter.
Yes,
That's
but
the
it's
cleanup.
separate letters. So there was, I presume, a notice of some type before the 25th of July, and then a notice of some type on, before September 16th.
Yes, that's correct.
That's different than this letter that is reminding them that the cleanup had occurred, and this is a notice of intent to assess.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Great. And then this is just a question for our attorneys, because there was a statement made about triple dipping. I just wanted to hear from you, like, the city's ability to assess this specific public health cleanup and why we're able to do that.
Thank you. Through the chair, Councilmember, I think Nick summed it up quite correctly, that there are three separate laws that we're operating under. One for the injunction to stop the behavior on the property, one that is a administrative citation for circumstances occurring at the property, and this one which is costs of cleaning up the circumstance at the property. They are three separate issues.
Thank you. And then is there any appeals process for this type of assessment, or any type of appeals process or recourse?
Chair Osmond and Councilmember Chowdhury, after the city council certifies the levy, the property owner can appeal the decision to the Court of Appeals.
Great.
And that's just specifically for the assessment.
Okay, great. Seeing all of that information, while it is a hefty amount, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't move forward with this, and so I will move this forward for approval.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See none. With that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, our next item was continued from our last meeting on October 28th. This is an appeal concerning the John Cook House at 948 18th Avenue. I'll welcome Andrea Burke from CBET to give us recap of last meeting.
Yes, good morning. I'm Andrea Burke, and I serve as the supervisor of the Historic Preservation Team in CPED. I'm here this morning to provide an update on the agenda item concerning the appeal of the Heritage Preservation Commission's decision to deny the demolition of the Cook House located at 948 18th Avenue Northeast. This property is a designated historic landmark in Minneapolis. As was previously mentioned, the item was continued from October 28th. BIZ committee meeting, and during that meeting, council members requested additional information regarding vacancy enforcement at the property. I will now address the three specific questions that were raised. Number one, how many fines have been issued to the property owner since the building was placed on the vacant building registry in 2014? Reg Services has assessed a total of $73,906.85 in fines. These include charges under the Vacant Building Registration Program, the Prolonged Vacancy Enforcement Program, housing inspection, citations, and nuisance-related fees. The second question was, what is the current fee structure under the Prolonged Vacancy Enforcement Program? The monthly fee for properties under PVE is currently $2,000, and in addition, late fees of $200 per citation are applied when payments are not made on time. And the third question is the city currently enforcing the Prolonged Vacancy Enforcement Program at this property? Yes. Enforcement under the program has been in effect at 948 18th Avenue Northeast since December 3rd, 2024. The decision before you today is whether to grant or not grant the appeal of the HPC's denial of the demolition application for the cookhouse. And this concludes my update. I am available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we are continuing to take the public hearing. Just a reminder, if you have spoken last meeting, please just wait. Right now, I will recognize Amanda T. to come and speak.
Thanks so much. My name is Amanda Temple, and I represent myself and my spouse. We live on the 1700 block of Tyler Street Northeast in Minneapolis. We've lived on this same block as the John Cook House for more than 24 years. We've previously submitted a letter to the HPC, which should already be in part of the record for this issue, and we continue to stand by our statements of that letter. We would like to add a few additional points regarding the statement made by the appellant's representative during the previous meeting in order to correct the record. Mr. Steen stated that the building was in rough shape in 2014 when it was put on the VBR. However, this house was updated with a new roof in 2018 and weather-tight prior to the sale to the current owner. Additionally, photographs included with the staff report from around the same time clearly show that the interior dwelling was intact. As Minneapolis residents who spend a great deal of our lives in close proximity to the cookhouse, we would disagree with Mr. Steen's assertion that the client has made significant efforts to maintain the property. All renovation work on the property ceased once the current owner took possession. The property owner has not secured the building from trespassers, not performed preventative maintenance, and has not kept up with to make efforts to keep the building weather-tight. The vacant building staff report reflects some of the work that the city has completed because the owner failed to act. There are still active pending actions regarding trash and dumping on the site. The 311 reports on the property have increased, and the limited scope of enforcement has not adequately addressed the issues of trespass and open windows above the first floor. Regardless of today's outcome, this property deserves to be cared for, and the owners held accountable for the safety of that property and the community. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person is Anna McAllison.
Good morning, Chair and Council members. My name is Anna McCallum. I'm actually a St. Paul resident and came across this house over 5 years ago while just going down Central Avenue and passing 18th to go to a store. And I love old houses, but something about this house really struck me. I had been in contact with Kevin Reich that when I found out it was going to be condemned and hoped that it would be saved, and was really happy that it was saved and put on the historic registry. Now you fast forward 4.5, 5 years, I drive by this house every week just to keep an eye on it. I have a real passion for this house. It's beautiful despite all of the boarded windows and the chipping paint, and there's something that exudes historic integrity on this house. Over the past 5 years, I've been going by weekly. I've seen that the house has not been kept up in even basic condition. There's fines for things like grass not being cut, which is just a basic homeownership thing. We talked about the fine schedule, and I don't think that's enough just to assess fines. I don't think that is incentive enough for this owner to take care of the property, especially a historic property. I had sent a lengthy email, which I'm not going to reiterate here, but I do a lot of historic work, and I do Minnesota History Day for students and communicate the importance of preserving our history. And one thing I wrote in my email was that since the 50s, we've seen massive demolition of historic properties across Minneapolis, across St. Paul. And then in the 70s and 80s, we created historic preservation commissions like the one you have here to make sure that buildings aren't obliterated so our history lives on. That's why we have things like Mill City and the Art Godfrey House here to be able to teach our students, our current and future generations about the importance of our history and the contributions of people who have come before them and created beautiful neighborhoods like Northeast Minneapolis. So I asked the committee to please consider preserving this beautiful house for our own and for our future generations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there anyone else who would like to speak who is on the floor? All right, I see the applicant here. I know you speak, but if you can just, some of the members who are not here, if you can just wrap it up in 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
The argument, yeah.
Thank you, Chair, council members. Jacob Steen with Larkin Hoffman. I want to just address the memo that you did receive from staff, and it does include some, I think, good information. And unfortunately, I think that memo actually underscores exactly the point that my client has been trying to make. It identifies nearly $75,000 in assessments and really underscores that this has not been what has been asserted as a demolition by neglect, but in fact, demolition by red tape. It further demonstrates that the city's done everything within its power to make abatement of this nuisance, which the city has identified as a nuisance, impossible. I would note that this building was on the vacant building registry for 5 years, and 20,000 of those fines occurred before my client even acquired the property, because this property was in fact on the vacant building registry because it was vacant and boarded. $47,000 of those fines occurred after it was not just condemned first by the city, but then designated as a condemned building by the city. And I think most disturbing of all, $20,000, more than a quarter of those fines, have occurred after this application before you today was made. So we've made the application and are going through the process that is available under the city's code, and the city continues to assess fines. Not only is that unhelpful and problematic for finding a solution, which we'd very much like to do, but it's unjust and it's unfair. As a reminder, you can't simply just pull a permit for a condemned building on the vacant building registry. There's a process and agreements that you have to enter into, and similarly, you can't just go and pull a permit for exterior repairs. You have to go through a hearing for a certificate of appropriateness. So there is just layer and layer of additional process, and adding $75,000 to the cost, I think very much emphasizes the challenge here. And I think one thing I would also note, as Mr. Magrino stated, you're only incentivizing this to go to tax forfeiture. Nobody wants that to happen. We'd love to work with the city council and with the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is anyone else on the floor? No? Oh, yes, please, come on in.
Thank you for hearing me. I was here last time, and I just want to...
Did you speak last time?
Yes.
No, your time is up.
Right.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I decided to let him speak because some of the members were not here at the end. Anyways, I'll close the public hearing and... I have asked if anybody's speaking. Okay, please, I'll pre-open the public hearing. Please, go ahead. State your 2 minutes.
My name is Catherine Kemp, and I live in Northeast Minneapolis near the Cookhouse, and have found it to be a valuable part of our community. And I am very pleased that our community was able to request that it become designated historic. I understand the necessity of building our community, including building new buildings, and that this demolition might help there be enough physical space for the trucks and things that would need to be parked while putting new buildings up along Central Avenue, which is the next street over and across the alley from where the Cookhouse is. Of course, our community wants to build and grow. We also want to maintain our history and respect our history, and know that that house was part of building the Northeast community, and that those were immigrants in the Scandinavian area that lived here long ago and worked hard in low-wage work. And I think it's very important that we respect this and bring things out. I think that the community would be interested in building up this shoring up this building and saving its historic preservation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll close the public hearing, and I just have a few questions with the staff or maybe the applicant. So I'm looking at the pictures of that was provided. The building looks very bad shape. And if I'm right, I heard this building has been vacant since 2014, which is like 12 years. And 2019, around that time, was designated as historical site, which nothing has been done ever since of that. And the city continued to give fines, and nothing has been improved, either pre-shaping or refixing the building. Is that accurate?
Chair Osmond, that is correct. It was placed on the vacant building registration in 2014. Former council member Reich had submitted a nomination, I believe it was 2019 or 2020, as I think 2020, and then the HPC recommended approval of the designation, and so did the city council, but it does not appear that there has been any much work that is done on the property since then. Thank you.
And I guess there was a new owner, and then did the owner took over after it was designated or before it was designated? How can you tell me about that?
Yeah, Chair Osmond, the current owner was the owner when former Councilmember Reich submitted the nomination to request designation of the property.
And was there any conversation notices that's required for the property owners to receive building being designated as a historic site?
Chair Osmond, yes, staff reached out to the property owner in written form multiple times. I don't have the exact number, but along major steps of the process to request their input, to notify them of the designation. Phone calls were made to, invite them to the hearings that were happening, but staff did not receive a response from the property owner after attempts to reach them were made.
Okay. Well, I think just for me is that, building being this vacant, and as last week we heard that the applicant says it's not recoverable, it's not feasible to fix it. We're trying to meet a goal here. Do you know what the plan is, or maybe they can answer it? If they receive this demolition, what is their plan on the building? Is there some kind of development plan they have, or have you heard anything about the future look of this site?
Chair Osmond, I'm going to ask a question of clarification. Let me reiterate the question, what is the plan if demolition is approved?
Yes.
What is the next step?
Yes.
I do believe probably the attorney, or if the owner is here, would be best
Thank
able
you.
to
Yep, that's all right.
answer that. Thank you.
Chair Osmond, council members, what I can tell you is if we do get the approval to demolish the building, our intent would be to follow through on that and bring forward the demolition. This was originally approved or intended to be part of a redevelopment, as one of the former speakers indicated. So the goal would to be to construct presumably a new home on the property. And I do want to clarify the timeline too. It was actually 2014. It became on the vacant building registry. 2019, it was acquired. 2020, it was condemned, and then a year later, it was designated.
Thank you so much. That's it for my questions. I will recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osmond, and for the attorney as well, the appellant's attorney, I do have a question for you, Mr. Steen. Why did your client purchase this home?
That's a great question. So at the time, it had been on the vacant building registry for 5 years. He was bringing forward a development at immediately across the alley. It was I think it's a former Burger King. It was brought forward for a redevelopment site. The entire site was one redevelopment. The intent was to demolish this building. It had been, it was derelict. It had been on the vacant building registry for a long time. After he bought it, it was condemned. At the time, he didn't have an objection to that because that was his intent, was to abate the nuisance. It wasn't until after it was condemned in the middle of the pandemic that it was designated. So, and I would note that while we have heard that there were indications that he was contacted, he was not aware that this was being designated, and this was not something that if he understood the implications, he would have agreed to, particularly given the irreparable condition of the building at the time.
And how much did he buy it for at the time?
I believe it was $240,000.
Okay. And why hasn't he paid the $19,325 in fines?
Is that the fines that have been levied since this appeal started? Well, the fines that were levied since this appeal started, we assumed would be stayed. We were not aware that the city was going to continue to levy us as we were walking through your process to demolish it. The demolition or the orders said that we were to abate the nuisance, so we applied for the demolition permit to the HPC. And ultimately, at this point, as I noted, it's going to cost $1.5 million to repair this building. We're between a rock and a hard place. Mr. Jabril very much understands the situation and that we are stuck between, effectively two factions in the community, one that wants to see this building down and one that wants to see it up. There have been offers to buy this for pennies on the dollar. And I think that's the challenge, is, this is really incentivizing a loss, a significant loss by my client, and the city's further citations will continue to incentivize that.
And why hasn't he accepted the offers to make this someone else's problem?
Well, there's always somebody to buy it for $1, right? I think that he shouldn't have to accept a loss. That is a significant property value, and he should not be compelled by the government to give up his property.
It's not our job to make sure that he gets a return either. I mean, that was not a smart investment to make.
Well, it was very different. He had very different investment-backed expectations when he acquired the property that was on the vacant building registry. They were also different when the building was condemned. It was only when the city, on its own volition, designated it as a landmark, a condemned gem, that it became problematic for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that if this was sold for pennies on the dollar, that someone in the community would be willing to make that investment in restoration of the building. Or, we don't know that someone wouldn't be willing to do that.
And I think what is so concerning is that the city is using its punitive powers to try to compel the loss of this property by my client. That is very concerning, and we'd like to collaboratively work with the city. We've reached out to the council members, spoke with them, the Council President Payne's office yesterday. We'd love to continue to work with the city, but the truth is, there's no way that you could use private dollars to have this thing be anything other than upside down and underwater.
What does collaboration with the city look like from your perspective? Just demolition?
Well, I think, our goal to demolish would be, the reason we want to demolish is to stop the bleeding. If there was a way to make my client whole, or at least partially whole, I think we'd happily engage with the city. I understand the city doesn't have a lot of dollars for acquisition, but if there was a possibility to get what he put into this, or at least close to it, I think we would absolutely entertain that. And we made that offer to the council member, and we're continuously discussing with members of the community. But again, there's always somebody willing to take it for a song, but that shouldn't be compelled. My client shouldn't be compelled to have to take a property or give up his property for pennies.
I guess I just find it sad that the property's now being given up. Just the value here is how much can this owner get profit out of this building?
Trust me, there will be no profit.
Beyond profit, it has historical value.
Well, I think that this building was condemned and deemed a nuisance and a hazard to public health before it was deemed to be a landmark. So I think that the city's own inspectors would agree that this is necessary to, the demolition is necessary to remedy an unsafe condition.
Okay, thanks for your answers. And I do have a question for Ms. Burke as well. I'm curious about this $19,325, and if the demolition is approved, will they still have to pay it? And if so, when would PVE end?
Chair Osmond and Councilmember Cashman, forgive me, I don't believe I am able to answer that question. I guess I am curious if there is a member of Reg Services that could answer that question in terms of payment of the fines. Thank you.
Good morning, Council Chair Osmond, committee members. My name is Brian Starry, field manager with Reg Services. I manage all the vacant and boarded buildings throughout the city of Minneapolis, including the property that we're talking about currently. As far as the prolonged vacancy enforcement, the current charges. So when we found out about the appeal, the owner's attorney did request that we pause citations moving forward until after the hearing and a decision was made. And so based on our conversations with the city's attorney's office, that was the directive. So we are currently in a pause status as of November of this month. So we did not charge a $2,000 citation based on the outcome for the hearing and a decision to be made. As far as the payment of what's been assessed or already imposed, that would be a conversation that I would have with my boss to figure out what the best course of action would be moving forward on that. So I wouldn't have there is no one size fits all. We're always going to do the impose the fines, or if we would waive them, it would be dependent on conversations and the outcome of what the council requests, what the desire for the community is at this location.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll just say I think that they should have to pay what they've been fined, even if demolition is an outcome here, which we have to expect is one of the outcomes that comes out of PVE. Either it's remediation or sale or demolition. Those are kind of the three things that come out of a building like this, and we have to expect that they'll still have to pay what was owed for the PVE during the lead up to that. So those are my 2 cents, but of course you guys will make that decision.
Thank you. Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I had a couple questions for the attorney. My question is about, did you say that the plan is to build a new home on this property if it's torn down?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Councilmember Vita. That is certainly, that would be the likely outcome. Mr. Jabril has acknowledged that he would happily build property or even a duplex or triplex. I think, that we would have to look at what you can build on the site. Originally, this was intended to be part of the project next door, but I don't think that's the plan right now. But as of yesterday, we discussed, what else can we do, and I think we're open to all options. And if that was a condition, I think we'd happily entertain, what that would look like, and we would work with staff to find something that meets the city code.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, but that's not like why I'm asking the question. I'm asking the question because nothing's been done to preserve and keep the property up to par. So I'm just wondering where funding is going to come from, and with the price of materials and all the things that are happening right now around building new properties, a duplex, a single family home, whatever, I can imagine it's going to be well over $1 million to build something new. So where is this coming from? Like, where is the funding coming from?
So the economics are really quite different for rehabilitation versus repair. When you have a designated building that's brick in particular, our $1.5 million contemplates having to take it down brick by brick and replace as many of those with the same bricks, right? It's incredibly labor and craftsman intensive process, whereas a new building, you don't have those same issues, right? You don't have leaded paint, you don't have asbestos, you don't have to take it down brick by brick. So I think that we would work with either Mr. Jabril would do it himself, or we would work with a builder. This is a very nice place to live. This is a great community, and I think we would happily work with those builders to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I live in a 103-year-old house. My house is very old, and I know what it, like, what it's like to just need a porch brick replaced, right? Versus like getting a block of cement. And that's something I committed to when I bought a house that was that old, was making sure that I maintained it and I kept it, with its curb appeal and charm, not just for myself, but for the people who drive by and see it every day and the people who visit it. And that's like a huge commitment when you purchase a house. And I don't think any of us purchase homes that old without understanding that the investment in, things that crack or break are much different than a new home, right? Or even building a new home. So I'm having a hard time with this one because your client purchased this knowing that it was an extremely old home that needed some preservation and replacement, and there's no way you purchase this without understanding a commitment to that, and that it cost a lot more. I mean, it took me 3 years to find someone just to fix the plaster, because people just don't do that work anymore. But like, you have to be patient and you have to get the right people, and it costs a little more, but like, that's your commitment to purchasing that. So I'm really having a hard time with you all. Like, it feels like you're taking the easy way out on this. It's like, that's old and it's dilapidated, but you're part of the reason for that. And then now it's like, we're just going to get something new and start fresh. And a lot of us don't get to do that.
Yeah, and I think that you make a really good point. I mean, the expectation when he bought it is that the building was in pretty rough shape. It'd been on the VBR for 5 years, and there was nothing prohibiting him from demolishing it. And he fully intended to demolish it in conjunction with the adjacent development. It wasn't until, and in fact, the city agreed, right? They condemned it within a year of him buying it. And it wasn't until after it was condemned that it was designated as a landmark. And that's when all of a sudden it became very challenging and significantly increased the cost, because repairing the exterior of a designated landmark requires a public hearing and craftsman. You have to go through the Secretary of the Interior standards for repairs. It's very labor intensive, very different expectations than when he purchased the property.
Yeah, but I also, like, condemned doesn't mean the building needs to be torn down either, right? Like, there's some things that get condemned that the city is requiring you to just go in and fix them. Right, and fix them in a certain way, especially if it's a historic landmark. So I feel like you're using condemned like the city was saying tear it down, and then the city said no, it can stay. No, there are things that need to be fixed in older homes. It was a historic landmark. It got designated a historic landmark. That does set the bar a little bit different. But at that point, if you don't want to commit to it, you sell it. You get back what you paid for it, and you get out of it, because you know that, I mean, that is how you make decisions as a homeowner or a purchaser or whatever. When you realize, okay, this is a historic landmark, and the amount of people who have reached out to me in this community about this house, I'm almost positive if he decided right away that he didn't want this, that this community would have rallied together, even if they had to set up a GoFundMe to get this house preserved and fixed up for purposes of community. These sorts of things, it's not about like if a house is going to be there, it's about how they bring community together. It's about the neighbor that's standing next to you, and you're looking at the beautiful charm and the, you're looking at the brick. It's not just about like having a house on this lot. This community really cares about the preservation of the culture and the community, and how this house brings them together. And I mean, I've heard from people who say, we bought a house on this block because that house was on this block. And it's been super hard to just watch this house kind of fall apart right before our eyes and not have someone that is directly connected to say, hey, community, let's rally together and fix it. But to just have an absent person who is not helping or not even working with the community to try to preserve it. So I'm not saying that the expense is not huge. It's a lot. Like, been there, done that. It takes a lot of money to preserve these things. But, like, at some point you have to decide, like, this is not the commitment I want to make. And that feels like that should have been it in 2019 and not in 2025 to me.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree that, you know, you're right. I mean, the right move here is to sell it and get what you put into it. This isn't a money-making venture at this point. The whole reason this application is before you is because we want to stop the bleeding, right? We want to figure out a way to get out of this, but we can't. You know, we've got these nuisance orders saying that you need to abate these nuisances, and we've got the HPC that ties our hands. So I think we would happily work with the community, but, you know, there are many people in the community who are also willing to, again, just take it for a song. So we'd love to continue to work with the community and even the city if there's a way to try to at least, you know, stop the bleeding and get what he put into the property.
Thank you for that. I'll just end with, you caused the nuisance. Like, you keep saying you want, like, it's a nuisance. You caused it. The nuisance is from you all. Like, it's, as the owner, you're responsible. You know, there's violations around cutting the grass. I mean, that doesn't feel neighborly. That doesn't feel like I want to work with this community when things like that are happening. When you know, like, the house needs to be boarded up, maybe with mesh boarding and not just regular boarding because people keep going in the house. Like, I'm super active in these sorts of situations in my community because of these reasons. And guess what works better? When the property owner is willing to sit down and work with me in the community on making sure that we have the proper boarding and making sure that they're not continuing to rack up fines, because there is going to be bleeding if you keep racking up fines and not doing the right thing. Sometimes that cost comes on the front end where you have to make some decisions and do the right thing. But I mean, a big piece of this is taking responsibility for your role and the part that you all have played in this. And it doesn't feel collaborative, and it doesn't feel like community. It feels like a blame on the city, and I'm okay with the city taking responsibility for what we've done, but you all need to actually, if you want to work with the city and the community on this, then you got to take responsibility for the parts that you have, the parts you've played in making this a really bad situation for this community.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I put myself in queue, and I would like to make the motion to approve the appeal because there are no reasonable alternatives that are financially feasible in the property. The property is unsafe and dangerous condition. I direct staff to support the finding accordingly. With that, all those in favor say aye. Or City Clerk, can you call the roll, please? Thank you.
On the motion to grant the appeal,
Correct.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Cashman.
No.
Jenkins is coming back right now. Would you want to re-vote after she comes? I don't know. Just restate it. Yeah.
I would just withdraw.
Just withdraw.
Okay. City Clerk, I would like to withdraw my motion and move it without recommendation. And call the roll now.
To send forward without recommendation, Councilmember Vita.
No.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
No.
Chavez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
Chair Osman.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes and 2 nays.
And that motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Chavez.
And Chair Osman, can you just clarify to the public what it means to move it forward with our recommendation in case people are confused?
What that means is that the full council will make the final decision. Next Next Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Where am I? Trying to get lost here. I think we are on the discussion. Oh, sorry. The last quasi, this one? This one, right, yep, sorry. We are on our last quasi-judicial hearing, and it's a variance appeal for property at 2821 Brookwood Terrace. This appeal system symptoms from the zoning board adjustment. I welcome Miles Campbell from CBET to give us that presentation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chair Osman and committee members. As mentioned, we are discussing today an appeal of a decision made by the Zoning Board of Adjustment regarding variance at a property located at 2821 Brookwood Terrace, located in Ward 13. Again, there were two variances that were heard by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. This appeal is specific to a decision granting a variance to allow development within 40 feet of the top of a steep slope in the Shoreland Overlay District. This property is located just directly north of Minnehaha Creek Park Board property and the creek itself. In terms of the existing conditions, and I don't want to go into too much detail, this was all provided in the materials to you all, but the home was built in 1927 and had that attached garage off the rear, which you can see in this image here. That current garage is 18 feet in width and 22 feet in depth. It does have an enclosed sunroom and roof deck above. One thing that we'll be able to see from some future slides is that the lot's grade does drop off very significantly as you move further south towards the creek itself, although the garage itself here is located on a relatively flat portion of the property. Again, that original proposal that went to the Zoning Board of Adjustment was for an addition to that garage, to bring that garage to 28 feet by 23. Again, you can see here in the blue would be that original proposal of the new addition. The yellow is the existing footprint. Again, there were two variances there. One was also a required side yard variance to basically carry forward that existing sidewall along the shared property line between 2821 and 2825 Brookwood Terrace. The Zoning Board of Adjustment did deny that side yard variance request while they did approve the steep slope variance. I will note here, and again, in the next slide we can see, the applicant has begun revising their plans in response to that denial of the variance. So again, on the left is that original, what went to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. On the right is the revised plan so far, shifting it to meet a 5-foot side yard setback. It's also slightly shorter in terms of kind of the depth into the rest of the lot. I believe the existing, or the proposed would be 26.5 by 22.5 feet as opposed to that 28 by 23. This also gives you a bit more of an idea, again, of where this is falling on the lot. And as you can see, as you move to the south, there's a existing retaining wall where the grade does drop off dramatically and continues to drop down towards the creek itself. Again, what we're discussing here today is the decision by that board to grant the steep slope variance. What the city code says is that land having an average slope of 18% or greater measured over a horizontal distance of 50 feet with a change in height of 10 feet is considered a steep slope. We restrict development within 40 feet of the top contour of that steep slope. One thing that's interesting, I think, and maybe isn't apparent, it's obviously very apparent that south of that retaining wall, there is a very steep slope, obviously going down. You can see line B here in red is showing that kind of drop, a 37% grade change from the 50-foot run from the park board property to the retaining wall. But in this case, that steep slope definition actually also includes land above the retaining wall itself. The blue arrows there are meant to illustrate what a potential 40-foot buffer from the top contour of the steep slope, which in this case would be 869 feet of elevation. One thing staff will note here is that the existing garage actually already falls within this 40-foot area, this buffer around the steep slope itself. So even replacing what is there today would still be in that, impact zone around the steep slope. Again, I'm not going to hit on the side yard variance that was denied, and there is no appeal from the appellant, Ms. Hagenson, in regards to that side yard variance. In terms of the variance approved for the steep slope, Again, this was approved at the zoning board of adjustment with 3 conditions. One, that the approval of final site elevation and floor plans will be reviewed and approved by the Community Planning and Economic Development Department. That all site improvements shall be completed by October 16th, 2027, unless extended by the administrator, or the permit may be revoked for noncompliance. And then finally, that erosion control measures shall be implemented prior to construction and shall remain in place until construction is complete. In terms of staff's findings for the variance, I would say staff feels that the zoning board of adjustment made the correct determination in this case. This feels like a very, no variance is ever typical. They're always quite unique from one another. But in terms of a shoreland variance, this is one where the proposed addition is in a flatter portion of the lot. It's not proposing to modify that existing retaining wall or the existing portion of the lot that's a steeper slope. Again, the presence of that topography change really limits almost any by right addition that could be done on this property, especially when taking into account some of our other requirements in terms of an addition on the front of the building itself. Staff will note, again, the existing vegetation, anything south of that retaining wall, there is no proposed changes to that area in terms of existing trees, vegetation, shrubs that are providing a lot of visibility blocking, especially over spring and summer. And then the other thing that we'll note here is just in terms of the surrounding context of the creek. Obviously, this is a unique area where we have that natural context from the creek, but also the urban context. I mean, this is a neighborhood that's had homes in it, again, going back to the early 1900s. There are some historic properties. Staff does not feel that this addition is going to impact or change kind of that local context, physical context of the area. One thing that I will note is at the appellant's request, we did take a look at what other variances have been sought for steep slopes in the past in this area. We looked between Zenith Avenue to the west and Morgan Avenue to the east. And in that area, we found 11 variances that had been taken to the Board of Adjustment. One of those had been withdrawn. The other 10 were all approved by the Board of Adjustment, and that's from a period between 1994 and earlier this year. Again, every variance is unique. There's always unique circumstances that go into kind of the review of them. What I do think that speaks to is really, again, the spirit and intent of the comp plan, the ordinance, the spirit and intent of that shoreland overlay district to serve as a checkpoint, really, and an extra point of review for these types of projects. And also speaking towards kind of the consistency of that view or of that addition from the creek, as well as in comparison to other properties nearby. With that all said, again, staff is recommending that the appeal is denied, and again, the decision of the Zoning Board of Adjustment is affirmed. I'm happy to stand for any questions. The other thing I will note is we have received 4 public comments against this item, 2 public comments in support of it, and we did also just yesterday receive a copy of a public comment from the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, a copy of which was included in the materials online on LIMS. I don't know if we have anyone from the park board here to kind of speak on the project, and I don't want to really color their own letter with my own views. They do note that they're reluctant to support variances within the Shoreland Overlay District, as the district is intended to protect the scenic environmental character of waterways largely managed by MPRB. In this case, we recognize that the slope itself is not proposed to change and that an existing low wall would remain in place. However, it is difficult to assess the potential visual impacts of the proposed project, and they remain concerned about the need for a variance. They do provide 2 recommended kind of action items were this to move forward. One being that the applicant would provide a survey to the park board and clearly delineate that property boundary between the park board property and the private property in this case. And that secondly, they would provide additional details at time of building permitting on how runoff will be managed and an erosion control plan, which I will just point out is a condition of approval that was originally set by the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll proceed to open the public hearing and give appellant and applicant 7 minutes each. Please come up and introduce yourself, and anyone else who would like to speak, I'll give them 2 minutes. Come on.
Thank you, Chairman Osmond and board members or committee members. My name is Marcia Hagenson, and I live directly next to 2821 Brookwood Terrace, and I'm here to appeal the variance that was granted in the Board of Adjustment meeting. Oh. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. City clerk's coming to help you. If you can pause the minutes or restart.
We just went over this.
There we go.
Yeah, thank you. So the first slide here actually shows you what the back of that said house looks like. Within the past week, this picture was taken. And the next slide actually shows you again what Miles brought up earlier in terms of where that house is located. It's located along the creek. It's within this turquoise triangle, and the location rises above Minnehaha Creek, adjacent to the Park Board property, and there's a new Minnehaha Creek hiking trail that has been started that is now in segment 1, running from Zenith to Morgan. And what the purpose of that trail is to allow for hiking along Minnehaha Creek, very much similar to the kind of thing we have for the Grand Rounds for biking. This is a new trail that's being developed from the edge of Minneapolis all the way down to Minnehaha Falls. And so it's very important that we take that into consideration because that hiking trail is directly behind this property. Here's an example of where the creek runs. You can kind of see that green area on this slide. And what we're looking at, if you can see Upton, it's about in the middle of the slide. And then about halfway up is Brookwood Terrace, although it's not specifically identified here. The purpose of this slide is to show you that the first segment of the trail is going to be 1.7 miles on Minneapolis Public Works property. Here is a kind of a blow-up of that area, and the red star indicates the house that we're talking about. The yellow stars indicate those houses that are a block away and for many blocks all the way up to Morgan, where we have a steep slope in the Shoreland Overlay District. This is the back of the property, the visual impact. I guess Park Board uses the word view shed. This is the view shed from the hiking trail to the back of their home. And the other items here, the other pictures, actually show from the hiking trail looking up to the other homes on this block. The next slide here shows those other streets that I was talking about that had the steep slope area. This is what the view is from that part of the hiking trail to the backs of their homes. And you can see that you can see the houses, but they aren't necessarily projecting out. Let me use Miles' slide and talk a little bit about the addition that they're talking about. This yellow box is essentially on the left side is essentially what the home, the dimensions of the home now, and which includes a sunroom and a deck on top of a garage. On the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a new proposed, and today was the first time I heard that they've made it a titch smaller. The proposed garage is going to be 28 by 23, and then they want to add another story on top of that. And then in the back of that, towards the creek, they're actually proposing 8 by 10 deck. So it'd be a total of 38 by 23 addition, 2 stories behind their home. I'm not a scientist, but this increase would certainly increase the impervious surface by 540 square feet. And we can see just from this diagram here that there's already a lot of impervious surface. One thing I wanted to point out is that the back of that lot comes back, and it comes back to a retaining wall. Well, one part of that retaining wall is a structural retaining wall. The other part is really a backdrop to a garden. And it's maybe 2 or 3 or 4 bricks deep, and I'll show you that in just a second. If we're to look at why we would want to grant this variance, we'd want to look at the rationales for being able to show practical difficulty. And I'd like to show you that we cannot show practical difficulty here. From a reasonableness standpoint, a uniqueness standpoint, an essential character standpoint. I'd also like to point out that this addition is not in harmony with the 2040 plan, and additional consideration should be made for the fact that the park board is building this new trail. It's right on the top of a steep slope in the shoreland overlay, and it will have an impact on the enjoyment of the natural environment by anyone who wishes to participate in any sort of outdoor activities in that area. From a practical difficulty standpoint, if we look at reasonableness, the big point here is that without the variance, they cannot make reasonable use of the property. That is not true. This is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath home. They can make reasonable use of the property. They need to be able to, what they are saying they want to do is to do an addition with a 2+3-car garage and shift that property out towards the creek and the steep slope and into the shoreland overlay. My question here is, have there been other considerations about locations or orientations? Can you build a garage that is a non-attached garage? I really believe that reasonableness has not been met in this case. Here's the back of the house. What they want to do is pull off the back shed, which is like a sunroom, a family room, and a deck over the garage, and put another structure 2 stories high for 38 feet back.
Yep, you run out of time, man.
Okay. What I'd like to do, was I able to get any of the minutes back from?
Yep, we did reset, yep.
Oh, you did reset?
Yep.
Okay, well, I have submitted to you this entire packet.
Okay.
Might I just say that I'd like to finish with the fact that this addition infringes, I believe, on not only my property, other properties, but for the public enjoyment of the creek and parkland, and I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that it meets the 2040 goals. They are not there, and if you look at this packet, you will see the opportunity to see how not approving this variance will actually help to meet the 2040 goals that we have as a city.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to come speak? Yes, please come on in. Just applicants? Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe we'll just quickly introduce ourselves. So my name is Jake Anderson. I'm one of the homeowners at 2821 Brookwood Terrace.
Hi, my name is Amy Anderson. I am the other homeowner at 2821 Brookwood Terrace.
Hi, Jeff Hoxie, Hoxie Homes, contractor hired to work with Jake and Amy.
Hello, Mike Eckert, Arcos Architecture and Design, the architect. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies, I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to read from some notes here. I just want to start by thanking the city staff for all their time. Miles has been great in just helping us through this process and working with our builder to find a design that meets our family's needs while also respecting the Minnehaha Creek area, a place that we truly love and enjoy year-round. We float down it with our kids in the summer. We walk along it with our kids in the winter. It's excellent. When we first stepped into our home to look at it for the first time, we immediately fell in love with its 1927 character and the old Minneapolis feel of the home. We took efforts to restore the original woodwork that was in the home and make it look like new again throughout the home. We have lived there for 5 years, and we love so much about the home, but one thing we realized is that the addition that's there now for the garage that was built decades ago just doesn't work well for today's needs. Right now, we can't fit our cars into the garage, which makes our everyday life a challenge, especially in the Minnesota winters. We have 3 kids in Minneapolis public schools at 3 different locations, so we're constantly on the go, minivan loaded up with our kids, our neighbors' kids, we're commuting to work, and we're doing neighborhood activities. And we love using the city's bike trails and system. And so for us, our vehicles and our bikes are a big part of daily life in Minneapolis. We've worked closely with the city staff to make sure our design meets the intent of the shoreline overlay rules. And we've even reduced the width of the proposed garage and deck to meet some of the feedback from the appellant and to further minimize the impactfulness on the surrounding area. We've really tried hard to find the right balance between what our family needs and what's best for the natural area around us. The revised proposal is a typical size 2-car garage, 22 by 26, which is similar in scale to the standard 24 by 24. It's just a different shape to meet the side yard variance. It's large enough to park our cars inside and store our bikes and gear. It also gives us the added benefit of opening up more yard space for our kids to play without running into our cars as they're trying to run around. And we're being very intentional about how this new garage will look. The current addition does not match the look and feel of the home in a meaningful way. We plan to match many of the home's original 1927 details, including stucco cove eaves and complementary materials. We want this addition to look like it's always been part of the house and fits naturally with the character of the neighborhood. And even with the added space, our home will remain in keeping with the scale and character of the Fulton neighborhood. At the same time, our property will continue to be one of the least visible along this stretch of Minnehaha Creek, thanks to the fact that the way our lot works up, there's more woodland behind ours, and none of that will be touched during this project. So we really appreciate the previous approval and the thoughtful feedback that helped get us to this point. We hope the board will uphold the decision so we can move forward with a design that respects our neighborhood, preserves the natural setting, and helps our family make the most of our home and our community. Thank you for your time and for everything you do to make Minneapolis such a wonderful place to live.
Thank you so much.
And if I could just, for a moment, try to give people a sense. Is it up there? Can people see it?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure that if someone doesn't live along this stretch, they can sort of understand what you see as you move down the street. So as you move from, here, I'll try to make it a little bigger. As you move from Upton Avenue onward, you can see it's very common to see man-made structures and homes, not only within 40 feet of the bluff, but also fully visible year-round. And so we feel that our lot is actually one of the most wooded along that stretch, especially in the summertime. In the fall, the leaves fall off, everything's more visible. But we really feel we're proposing a 2-story addition. Our neighbors on both sides have done 3-story additions above their garage. So also visible from that same trail. So just wanted to give people a sense that it isn't all just woods in our house. There is plenty along this stretch that is quite visible already.
Okay, wonderful. You still got 2 minutes.
Jeff, did you want to add anything on that?
I will add a couple things very quickly. Jake and Amy have always been very passionate about their home. When they came to me, we worked together years ago on a previous home. They love this home, they want to make it their own, and the home is beautiful. The back garage addition isn't. And so when we started designing it with Mike, the architecture will be a complete match to what the rest of the original home is. So it works great, it looks good, it will look better from the creek, in my opinion, because it will architecturally be the same. We can provide surveys, we've done all those if the park board would like to see that. Erosion control, stormwater management, common practice in every city we work in. Totally comfortable doing all of that. From the original approval, we have shrunk the addition 3.5 feet, 1.5 feet to the garage, 2 feet to the deck. Also pull it off the property line to give more room for the existing trees. No trees need to be removed. The retaining wall doesn't need to be touched. So really trying to get the best functional space for what will fit within the property. And looking at other areas, I mean, if we were to move it to a different location in the backyard,
It complies,
Right.
it has to comply with all the ordinances that are required to get a building permit. So it does, yes, increase building coverage and impervious coverage, but they all fall under the allowables that the city requires.
Yep.
Right. Oh, thank you so
Thank
much. All right. I see if anyone else who would like to speak. I see Aaron here. Welcome.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Aaron Youngdahl, and I live within 350 feet of the property. I'm actually 5 houses to the west, and I'm here in support of the variance. I was one of the 11 recipients of a variance in my home probably like 10 years ago, which allowed me to go from like a 1.5 garage to a 2-car garage. Still a little tight, but it is 2-car. And just thinking about this and listening, my garage door is 18 feet, which is what their whole garage currently is. And, you know, they're proposing to get to, I think, 23 feet. Well, if you have an 18-foot garage door, you still can't fit 2 cars, so I think it's pretty reasonable. Along that stretch, I walk the creek a couple, 3 times a day, and so I'm looking around, and, you know, Jake is right. There is a lot of woods coverage, and I think that, you know, I don't think this is going to make any difference, at least on my behalf or my family's behalf. If you looked at the other 11 variances that were given, you know, I'm quite confident that some of the respondents who are in opposition to that and to this project were recipients of those variances, so that's a little confusing. The Andersons are a great family. As they mentioned, they have 3 kids in the public schools. We want that to continue, and I think this is going to be a great addition to our neighborhood. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I just had a quick question for staff. Thanks for coming up, Miles. Could you just share what was the change that was made in the Board of Adjustment and Zoning from the original application?
Yes,
variance
absolutely.
application?
So, Chair Osmond, Councilmember Chowdhury, the change in this case, again, the original variance, there were 2 requests. One would have had, and I'll see if I can't pull up the image as well. So again, the original request had 2 variances. One would have been, again, the steep slope variance that we're discussing today. The other was a side yard variance. So the existing home falls, I think, between 3 and 3.1 feet off of the property line, whereas code today requires a 5-foot separation from an interior side property line. So again, the original request was to basically carry that sidewall forward. You can see on the left here, that area in blue would have been the addition in that original proposal. In the revised version, again, in theory, the existing garage kind of location could remain where it is. The applicant is electing to shift that entire kind of garage structure to meet a 5-foot setback on the west side of that building. In terms of, again, the kind of change in the scale for the structure, again, the original request was to have a 28 by 23 garage. This would put it at, I believe, the last time I spoke with the team, at a 26.5 by 22.5. Obviously, that is subject a little bit to still change between now and building permitting. Typically, what we do tell folks is that, it cannot expand beyond the original scope of the variance, but something here where it's being revised to actually move in response to that variance denial is allowed basically before permitting. So again, a slight change in terms of, it looks like, again, about 1.5 feet off of the, I guess you call it the depth in this case, of how far it goes to the south. And then the deck also you can see here, so it's labeled as balcony on both, I believe 2 feet off of that, so going from an 8-foot balcony to 6 feet.
Great, thank you. And then last question for me is that this is compliant with all of the shoreline code requirements that we have?
Correct. So the shoreline code, besides the steep slope requirements, does have some other additional requirements for, example, things like clear cutting of vegetation. As far as staff is aware, there's no issues with the shoreline overlay district requirements or with other sections of the code. I know it was brought up in terms of kind of impervious surface or lot cover. This addition is compliant with the requirements. This is a UN1, Urban Neighborhood 1 property. Would have a maximum of 60% of the lots being allowed as impervious surface. This is still well below that percentage.
Great, thank you so much for answering those questions. I'll just say, looking at staff findings, looking at the conversation with the Board of Adjustment, and then also hearing the testimony today, I feel like this meets all of the requirements necessary under us as a city, and I also appreciate that the applicant of the variance made a compromise and made it a little bit smaller. I think it's also helpful to understand what has occurred within the neighborhood as well. And so with that, I just kind of concur with staff findings and will move to deny the appeal.
Second.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osman. Question for staff. Can you just remind me what the additional 540 some square feet of impervious surface, if that is in compliance with city code? Because I heard kind of different interpretations of that in the two testimonies.
Correct. Chair Osman and Councilmember Cashman, I don't have the exact percentage of impervious off the top of my head, but this is below, again, that 60% maximum for the lot itself. So that would be of the lot's total square footage area, 60% of that is allowed to be structure footprint, pavement, even things like landscaping beds that have a plastic underneath that doesn't allow permeation of rainwater. Again, I don't have the exact percentage, but this is well below that 60% mark.
Okay, understood. Thank you. I'll also support the motion to deny the appeal.
Seeing none, I'll ask City Clerk to call the roll.
If I
To
may.
call the motion, yes.
Suggest at your leisure a slight suggestion to the wording of that to deny the appeal and adopt the findings in the staff report.
Absolutely, motion to deny the appeal and adopt the staff findings in the report.
City Clerk.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
And Chair Osman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes and no nays.
And that motion passes. Thank you. Now we will return our portion of discussion. First, I welcome Greg Goldberg from CBED to present 2025 Affordable Housing Trust Fund Award nominations. I just want to remind members that we will have to get out of here by 1:15, would I say? 1 o'clock? 1 o'clock? Yeah.
Good afternoon, members of the committee, Chair Osman. Do you want me to wait one more second? I'm
No.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Please go ahead.
Okay,
please go ahead.
I'm conscious of your time frame that you just mentioned. I'm going to do a very brief presentation and allow you to ask any questions that you have. Good afternoon, I'm Carrie Goldberg, and I'm with the City CPED Residential Finance Team, and I'm here to present the recommendations for the 2025 Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund program is the city's largest program that assists in financing the production and preservation of affordable and mixed-income rental housing projects with 10 units or more and with at least 20% of the units affordable to households at or below 50% of the area median income. This year, the city received 14 applications requesting just over $24.6 million, and staff is recommending 9 projects for trust fund awards that total $14.5 million. The trust fund notice of funding availability that is issued in June each year contains the criteria established to assist staff in evaluating an application's completeness and financial viability. All the applications are analyzed using the underwriting standards and criteria that are approved by City Council. Staff analyzes the project's sources and uses, the financial gaps, the management and operating budget and expenses, the project's reserves, and cash flow. The project's financial viability informs whether the project is ready to move forward in comparison to other projects and putting the trust fund dollars to use more quickly by getting affordable units constructed sooner. Construction cost increases, interest rate increases, and lower tax credit pricing all continue to be present challenges to securing full project funding and beginning construction timely. And in addition, the increased management and operating expenses have significantly impacted the sustainable solvency of affordable housing projects. Increased insurance costs, increased security costs, high staff turnover, and revenue losses due to vacancies or unpaid rents have strained the capacity and continued operations of numerous existing projects and developers. The NOFA also contains the criteria established to assist staff in reviewing, evaluating, and scoring applications, and all applications are scored and ranked according to the selection criteria, which is also approved by City Council. It's important to note that the scoring is only one component of the evaluation for the award recommendations. As I mentioned earlier, and identified the other things that we look at. Lower-ranking applications may be recommended for funding over higher-ranking applications based on project readiness, prior awards, and/or other committed funding or criteria as indicated in the NOFA. Before I highlight the projects being recommended for awards, I'd like to just highlight the success reflected in the numbers on this slide. The projects this year will create or preserve 597 units. 162 of those units will have secured rental assistance, and 455 of those units are at 50% AMI or less, of which almost half are at 30% AMI or less. In order to be competitive for funding through the trust fund, the projects must include deep affordability, support services, rental assistance, homelessness, and larger units. These goals are all what are incentivized in the scoring. These next several slides will highlight the projects being recommended, and they are more fully described in the RCA. I'm just going to briefly go through them. The first is Lindquist Apartments. This is a 26-unit preservation project that provides 24 units for youth exiting homelessness. The Wellstone is also a rehabilitation project. There are 49 units that serve families, 100% affordable. Zari Apartments. This is the second phase of the 3030 Nicollet redevelopment site, which suffered damage during the civil unrest in 2020. This project consists of a significant number of affordable larger family units, and this project received a partial award last year. This project has done a very good job of continuing to secure its financing, and so we are giving the remaining qualifying award to this project this year. Penwood Village and Community Market. This is a new construction mixed-use project with 86 affordable family-sized units. Lindale Avenue Apartments, this is a new construction project with 40 deeply affordable units. Lot A, this is a city-owned site. This is a new construction, 100% affordable family housing project. There are a significant number of 2 and 3 bedrooms. Whoops, that's the one I just did. Sorry. Trying to go quickly, sorry. Flower Exchange, this is an adaptive reuse of the Flower Exchange building downtown, and that will consist of 110 units of mixed-income housing with a significant number of units that will have rental assistance. The Jourdain is a 41-unit mixed-income rehabilitation project for families, and it is under Hope Community, which is also the Wellstone, which was also recommended this year. And I think that's my last. So in conclusion, all the applicants deserve a round of thanks for working so hard to submit applications that incorporate the many city priorities for affordable housing. I'd also like to thank the residential finance team who reviews, underwrites, and analyzes these projects so we can make recommendations to you, putting the trust fund dollars to work as quickly as possible. And I'd also like to thank the city's funding partners who also assist in the review of applications and financing of these projects. Without them, the city would not produce and preserve the amount of affordable housing that we do so successfully. And with that, I'll take questions.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very excited to see this award for the trellis project at the Flower Exchange, so thank you for that. And this all looks really great. Thank you for the presentation, and I'll move this item for approval.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, staff, for your work on this. I know it takes a long process of all this. It's always great to see projects popping up and getting support. Can you talk about a little bit of Wellstone that's located in Ward 6? Is it a rehab? What is the money for?
Yes, it is a rehab. So the Wellstone and the Jourdain are both owned by Hope Community. They are both existing projects and have families living in them. They are doing 2 phases of rehabilitation to these buildings, and this first phase is doing some of the larger infrastructure to it, the HVAC systems, some of the more the utility-related items for it. So that will be the first round. I do anticipate they're not doing individual unit rehab at this time. It's possible they will come back for a second phase, but they are proceeding with just the major infrastructure for the building at this time.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osmond, and thank you for that presentation. It is really exciting, particularly to see the Zaria project, phase 2 of the 3030 Nicollet. You know, that site was demolished, I guess, in the uprising, the fires, etc. And now there's already 100 units of affordable housing, deeply affordable housing there, that has large apartments for the tenants and residents in the immediate area. And so this addition is very welcome, and I believe it's going to include some opportunities for businesses on the first floor too, or the main level. So just really excited about the project, and the developer is a woman of color, so it's a great project.
Great, thank you. I see no one else. With the motion for Councilmember Cashman, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next item is the 9% low-income housing tax credit.
Good afternoon, Chair Osmond, members of the committee. I'm Emily Carr, Supervisor on the Residential Finance Team in CPED, and I'm here today to present our annual 9% housing tax credit recommendations. Every year, CPED administers an allocation of 9% low-income housing tax credits, acting on behalf of the Minneapolis-St. Paul Housing Finance Board. The Housing Tax Credit Program provides a reduction in federal tax liability to investors in qualified low-income rental housing developments that comply with federally imposed rent and income restrictions for a minimum of 30 years. I want to highlight that 9% housing tax credits are a very valuable tool to create deeply affordable housing and provide approximately 70% of a project's equity. It needs to be financed. The city can only typically finance one of these projects a year with our allocation. The City Council approved a 2-year qualified allocation plan, or QAP, and procedural manual for this year's notice of funding availability back in June. The QAP establishes a scoring and selection criteria for the Housing Tax Credit Program. The program timeline is similar to the trust fund each year, and applications for this year's housing tax credits were due on July 28th. This year, CPED is administering an allocation of $1,777,841 in year 2026 9% housing tax credits. We received 4 applications requesting a total of approximately $6.5 million in tax credits. The summary list of projects, amount of tax credits requested, and unit breakdown is shown in the report's attached 2026 application summary. The applications were scored according to the scoring criteria established in the adopted QAP. Scoring for each of the projects is summarized in the attached housing tax credit scoring summary. The top scoring project this year was 2116 Nicollet. You may recall we funded this project last year with 9% housing tax credits. They need additional credits this year beyond what we were able to allocate last year. And so they came in and requested $1.4 million in additional credits to close their gap and hopefully get to the closing table early next year. With our $1.7 million in credits, staff are recommending that the $1.48 million in their request be funded, which leaves a balance of approximately $289,000 to allocate. Claire 5 housing project was the second highest scoring project, and so staff is recommending that we apply that balance of our allocation and award it to the Claire 5 housing project. Both 2116 Nicollet and Claire 5 were housing projects that were awarded through the trust fund in previous rounds. Claire 5 is a 33-unit new construction project proposed in Ward 1 that will serve seniors living with HIV and AIDS. So both of these projects have deep policy alignment with city goals, provide very low-income housing and low-barrier housing for people that are most vulnerable in our community. So with that, I am happy to take any questions. I also want to thank all of our applicants this year for their continued commitment to providing affordable housing in our community.
Thanks for that presentation. Are there any questions from members? Seeing none, I'll approve this item. All those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, so next one will be signs. Yes, last discussion item is ordinance related to the zoning code, especially on and off-premise signage. The public hearing for this ordinance was held at the City Planning Commission on November 3rd and is now before us for discussion. I will welcome Sarah Roman from CPED for brief presentation.
Thank you, Chair Osmond, members of the committee. My name is Sarah Roman. I'm a planner in CPED, and I will be presenting the sign code amendment for you today. So about a year ago, staff was asked to examine how signs could be used as a tool to increase vibrancy, arts and culture, and a sense of safety downtown. So as part of that work, we looked at on-premises signs, so those are local business signs, and off-premises signs, otherwise known as billboards. We also looked at how signs could be used to improve visibility for downtown businesses, including skyway businesses. And we were also asked to focus on the idea of an entertainment district and how that could be implemented in the future. So the majority of the recommendations that you'll see today do focus on downtown, but we also want to call out that there are some recommendations that apply citywide and some recommendations that apply to specific districts or to specific uses. So moving into the changes to on-premises sign regulations for downtown specifically, these regulations or proposed amendments are generally either to increase flexibility for signs or to make a process around obtaining a sign easier for applicants. And so there are a few ways that we are proposing flexibility for signs. We are proposing to allow more signage in more locations, so additional sign allocation on non-primary building walls, so those are walls that don't face a public street. We are proposing to extend a minimum sign allowance for skyway businesses and exempting directory signs. So those would be signs on the exterior of a building that are telling people on the street what's located on the inside of a building. In terms of allowing new sign types, we are looking to allow light projection signs. So that's an example of an artistic application on a historic structure. But this would allow advertisement in the form of light projections downtown. This is great for historic buildings where we don't want to have significant impact on a structure. And we're also proposing to allow portable signs, also known as sandwich boards, and building wrap signs as a first step on skyway bridges. Skyway bridges were also seen as a great opportunity for increasing vibrancy downtown. So we're carving out some allowances for skyway bridges and flexibility in what you can do on them and inside of them. We're proposing to allow permanent art, temporary art, and temporary on-premises signs for no longer than 90 days, as well as allowing events within skyway bridges. And then in terms of changes for on-premises signs that would apply citywide, these are primarily process improvements. So we are simplifying the sign permit fee. It's currently a tiered fee and would just be moving to a flat fee. We are proposing to revise regulations for temporary signs to a 60-day maximum, exempting sign replacements from permitting requirements. So if you're an existing business or a new business moving into an existing space that already has signs, you would not be required to pull a permit for that. And so that's just a cost savings for our small businesses that we're really excited about. The other thing that we think will be a really interesting and wonderful improvement for the city is an exemption for painted wall signs from regulation. So the city has a really rich history with painted wall signs, going from our historic ghost signs, moving into the murals and advertisements seen along Lake Street today. And this would just allow these painted wall signs to occur anywhere on a building, as long as they meet height requirements in that district for signs. The majority of the proposed changes for on-premises signs outside of downtown that don't apply citywide are really fixes for specific uses or specific districts. So we are proposing to remove a roof sign penalty that was initially enacted to ensure that roof signs weren't having an outsized impact on commercial corridors. But this would remove the penalty and just allow roof signs to be counted in a standard way, the way any normal other sign would be counted. We are also proposing to increase the sign area allowances for CM3 properties. So that would allow more signage or increased signage along our commercial corridors for our CM3 properties to match what CM4 properties are currently given. That was something that was unintentionally rolled back during the land use rezoning property, and so it would reinstate sign allowances for existing businesses, and new businesses that were coming in could enjoy that additional signage that would be allowed. And so the next bucket of changes that we're proposing are around our off-premises sign regulations. And so these are otherwise known as billboards. We are at a unique place in time with our billboard system. So we are doing all of this visioning work around downtown and thinking about revitalization and vibrancy efforts and how billboards can play a role in that. But we are also looking at a stagnant billboard credit system. And so our billboard system has been in place for the past several decades. It incentivizes the removal of billboards from neighborhoods outside of downtown in order to obtain a credit. Those credits can be used to build billboards within our downtown or within our highways. But within the past several years, we've really seen that program stagnate. We're not seeing the removal of billboards that we once were in our neighborhoods. And so that brings us to a moment where we can consider how we want to move forward with regulating billboards through a new program. The first recommendation that we're proposing is to retire the sign credit system, so no longer require credits for building new billboards, but to prohibit the installation of new billboards and the conversion of billboards from static to digital in a time-limited sense that I will discuss further. We are also proposing to deter subsidization of vacant structures through a requirement that billboards be placed on an active use. So after we have new sign regulations in place around billboards, if you build a billboard on your property on top of your building and that property becomes vacant, you would be required to remove that billboard. And so today we have properties that have remained vacant or have pushed back against redevelopment because they're still obtaining revenue from billboards. And this would ideally prevent that from happening into the future. We are also proposing an exemption for off-premises signs related to civic, cultural, and sports events and organizations downtown. So some of our most loved signs downtown related to our sports teams in particular currently are not conforming to our code, and this would allow those types of signs, like our Timberwolves banners, to occur legally in the city. And then we are also proposing an exemption of off-premises sign regulations for signs located on city-owned properties. So that just gives the city the ability to determine how we would like to handle billboards on city-owned properties into the future if we decide to pursue that option. And so to move back to the rationale for the prohibition, the majority of the discussion at City Planning Commission was around the code regulation that states that new billboards would be prohibited and the conversion of billboards from static to digital would be prohibited. Staff has always talked about this prohibition on new billboards as a pause. The intent is for this to be time limited while the city undertakes a number of very specific steps. And so while there isn't the ability in a standard ordinance to enact a date where regulations would sunset, this is absolutely intended to be a pause on allowing new billboards while we create a new system. And we have staff and policy member support on that. And so there are three things that we would like to do while we're creating this new system while this pause is occurring. And so firstly, the city is currently completing a Culturescapes visioning process. So our Arts and Cultural Affairs Department has been working with artists and placemakers and community members around the idea of what our downtown could be. And out of that work is going to come specific recommendations around how billboards can be used as a tool for vibrancy. The second is that we are planning to move forward with a legislative ask to allow revenue sharing or some other revenue generation process for new billboards. And so this has been a popular idea in cities like Denver and Atlanta and San Antonio, where new billboards generate revenue for arts and cultural programming, for public arts, and for other initiatives. The city is not currently permitted to undertake such an effort, but we will be asking the legislature at this upcoming session to allow us to do so. And so whether that be a larger permit fee or a revenue sharing model or a taxing district, the idea of allowing billboards in a very thoughtful way for a specific public purpose is appealing to our policymakers and also to staff. The other point of success around these programs in other cities is that those cities generally do not permit billboards otherwise. And so there is momentum built up and a demand built up by not allowing billboards that allows this buy-in into these revenue generation programs to occur. CPED would also like the opportunity to do outreach with downtown property owners and with our residents. So we have met for many, many, many hours with media companies and with billboard operators and with property owners who have billboards over the last year to talk about the billboard program and what it could be in the future. and where we haven't had the opportunities to speak with residents about how they feel about billboards. It is not a straightforward issue. It is very nuanced about how people feel about billboards, and so this would just give us the opportunity to create that balance in this conversation. And so at Planning Commission, there was a recommendation to allow a date into the ordinance. The memorandum that was prepared for you, that was sent prior to the BIZ hearing, outlined the reasons that the city attorney's office and the city clerk's office doesn't believe that we can add a sunset date into the ordinance. If the committee is interested in not moving forward with a prohibition around billboards and just allowing the system to stay in place, then we would recommend that an amendment be made to keep the credit system in place, because the credit system is really what's prohibiting the proliferation of billboards. And so at least with the current system in place, we'll have the same process that has been going on for the past several years, where if you're in a district that requires credits, you have to get credits. If you're in a district that doesn't require credits, you don't need credits, but we sort of stay the same while we examine how we can move forward. So staff would just ask today that you make a recommendation to move forward with the staff's language as we've proposed it. But I certainly understand that there's a lot of nuance to these discussions, and so I'm happy to stand for questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I will recognize Councilmember Cashman.
All right. Thank you, Chair Osman. I just want to thank Sarah Roman. You've done an amazing job on this, and Meg and Jason, also from the planning department, have just done a really great job, and we've been working on this together for over a year, so thank you so much. I believe that these ordinance changes will really help with the vibrancy of our commercial corridors, not only downtown, but throughout the great streets of our city, through the cultural districts, through all of the small business corridors throughout all wards of the city. And so I think there's a huge benefit to doing this. And I just want to name a few of the improvements that we have in this ordinance that I'm most excited about moving forward for approval. One is that painted wall signs will no longer be regulated citywide. This removes the need for a costly permit for small businesses and creates more opportunities for artists. Actually, one of our Vibrant Storefronts awardees in Loring Park owns a business that does painted wall signs called Sharp Signs. You've probably seen them around all throughout the South Side, and it's a really affordable way for a small business to advertise their building without having to invest in some of these really expensive physical structures of a sign. So I'm excited that we're moving forward with deregulating that and making that more accessible. I'm also excited about expanding signage allowances in general. I think that blade signs and the types of signs that help pedestrians navigate a corridor as they're walking around and find their destination are a really important tool for us to improve walkability in our city, improve the vibrancy of Uptown and other neighborhoods that we're so deeply committed to revitalizing. Also happy that billboards will no longer be allowed to subsidize vacant buildings. I think that's an important value to be keeping in mind in phase 2 as well, because I think that that might hold back some owners from making investments in their buildings that they should be making, that we want them to make. I also am glad that replacing signs with similar ones will no longer require a permit and a fee. I think that streamlining that process is good for businesses. Skyways was something that we worked a lot on, and creating more allowances to advertise what's up in the skyways on the street level so that the pedestrians and visitors to our city can see what's up there and navigate up there. So those opportunities, even for the directories on the ground floor level to advertise skyway level businesses, will be an improvement. And then finally, new sign types like building wraps and light projections are things that I've experienced in cities that I've lived in, like Montreal, which is a very creative city, and really help with the arts and cultural experience of the city. And I think will offer a lot of opportunities for artists and creatives to experiment more and make our downtown a really exciting place to be. So thank you so much for all the work on this. I'm going to move this for approval today, and I'm also bringing an amendment. So I will explain the amendment briefly and then move that for approval as well. This amendment is related to some feedback we got at the public hearing at the Planning Commission about off-premises signs, and so some of the concerns were about the pause on new billboards and conversion to digital billboards in the area near the Target Center. And given the uncertainty of the future of the Target Center, I don't want to take away an option that those building owners currently have to drive more traffic and vibrancy of their buildings. So this amendment allows for the building owners in the Downtown West Entertainment Billboard District to transition their existing billboards to digital only in this specific area, or basically preserves the ability that they currently have to convert their static billboards to digital in this area. So with that, I'm going to motion to approve this amendment. I'm going to move to approve the ordinance as a whole and ask that my colleagues support it. We have very little time left in our term, and I will not be coming back next term, so I ask for your support in helping us get this across the finish line. I also ask for colleagues to continue carrying the baton on Phase 2 next year. And I know our IGR Chair, Chowdhury, will be willing to go to the state legislature for some of the asks that staff have laid out too. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I've been myself in queue. I just want to say thank you, and also I think the two topics. One is the billboard, and the other one is the lights. Technology is growing. Lights do bring customers to your place, and it's. I like to see it more. Less regulation on that sense, and not just focus on downtown, but what are we doing on cultural corridors? What are we doing on Franklin, Lake Street, places like that? Are there anything that's included in this ordinance that you can highlight on those cultural corridors or even outside downtown?
Thank you, Chair Osman. And so we do have a few sets of improvements around additional sign allocations for our CM3 districts, but certainly staff would be more than willing to look at making additional recommendations into the future around amendments for our areas outside of downtown. I think downtown's a great place to kind of test some of these regulations and see how they fit within the context of a more heavily urban environment, and then we can move towards our other corridors, moving with the success of this project.
Yes, and also I agree. I think the billboard system is outdated, need to be improved. I understand that maybe like one or two companies that are probably own majority of it, and I'd like to see it more open to businesses and the system credit, which I don't really understand majority of the time, but we're getting rid of it, so that's a good thing. So yeah, just let's make sure that we are creating opportunity for not just a couple companies, but more like property owners in that area, the community owners, the businesses, and expanding that. I'd like to see it. So yeah, let's put a date on time and get that ordinance going. I will recognize Councilman Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osman. Thank you so much for your presentation. I wanted to see if you could just share a little bit more about how a revenue sharing model could operate. Because the thing that I am very sensitive to is doing a conversion from static to digital without having an opportunity to have revenue sharing. And I want to get a better understanding of, like, if we work with our state legislative delegation to get something, what do we seek to get to benefit the rest of downtown and our city and the plan for vibrancy there?
Through the chair, Vice Chair Chowdhury. So the way that we are proposing to bring this to the legislature is in an open-ended manner, and so there are several ways that a revenue sharing model can occur. It could be a taxing district where new billboards are taxed on a portion of their revenue. It could be a revenue share agreement that they're required to enter into, and so a portion of the revenue that's generated from those billboards goes directly to the city. The state legislature would decide if that's the general fund or into a specific place. So, for example, Denver diverts all of that funding into specific categories for, like, arts improvement and public arts and festivals and things of that nature. So that's a bit of up to bargaining at the state legislature if they would decide to move that forward. And then there's also a fee option where the fee for a billboard would be, X amount of dollars. Currently, fees are limited to the cost that it takes to administer code, and so that fee for a billboard is just the fee that it takes us to inspect that billboard. Other cities, like San Antonio, those fees can be upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that money then goes either to the general fund or is diverted to specific funding mechanisms through city council. And so where the dollars are really occurring in the billboard market is through digitization. And so there is a portion of revenue that is generated through static billboards, but there is much more revenue generated through a digital billboard. And so if we don't do a temporary pause, a prohibition on conversions from static to digital billboards, we are in essence like leaving that money on the table to have a future revenue generation system that could go into arts efforts or elsewhere.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like that's really should be one of our big priorities looking into the next few years, and that's why I feel pretty confident about us having a prohibition for now, and I feel pretty confident about us pursuing that phase 2. I think there's like a lot of deep alignment between council members, the mayor's office, our city staff on that. I did want to ask a question just about the amendment that's before us, because it's essentially creating an exemption for a certain area of the city. Could you kind of speak to what we seek to leave, or just some thoughts on staff's perspective, because you didn't include an exemption in the original ordinance, and just wanted to get a stronger feeling for your thoughts on it.
Vice Chair Chowdhury, could you clarify which exemption you're speaking of? The city-owned buildings exemption?
No, the alterations for digitization on the Downtown West Entertainment Billboard District.
The motion by Councilmember Cashman?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and so this speaks directly to the question of allowing this momentum to build for this revenue sharing model. And so originally we had just considered this pause to be a pause on any new billboards and on the alteration of billboards. We're comfortable with changes to existing signs to allow them to change area or height within the bounds of what's existing, but the digitization is really the alteration that was most important to maintain this idea around creating a new system. And then the Downtown West Entertainment Billboard District question was really around the comments that we received at Planning Commission and the concern from downtown property owners that have billboards that this prohibition just would not end, and we would not reinstate their ability to have digital billboards into the future.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I hear that concern. I feel like, again, you have a trifecta in council members, mayor's office, and staff committing to phase 2, which is like a huge place of agreement where those things, that's a big deal here in the city of Minneapolis. How many, can you approximate how many static billboards are in the Downtown West Entertainment Billboard District? I'm trying to get an understanding of how many could digitize should we approve this amendment.
Thank you for the question. I don't have an answer to that question on hand. We could certainly do a walkthrough and get that information for you, but it's not something that I have in front of me. But okay. Imagine it's a handful.
Okay, yeah, I think the thing that I would like to get a better understanding of is what's the level of impact that we would see? How many billboards would we see digitize in that area? Should we make the change? Without that information, I'm not able to support the amendment before us. I do feel like it's important for us to do the visioning, to also engage with residents, but even more importantly, have the conversation about the future of downtown and the rest of the city, because downtown is a huge part of our tax base. with our state legislature and work with them to see what their appetite is to make changes for revenue sharing.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. And thank you, Councilmember Cashman, for working on this. I know you said it's been over a year, but it really does feel a little rushed for me. And it's not because you all haven't done a fantastic job at trying to figure out some solutions, but I just feel like there's no clear vision. And I'm not, most of the conversations are about downtown, and I'm more concerned about Laurie Avenue, Upper Harbor Terminal, some of the places on the north side where there's just like a random billboard. Like, what does that look like for the community, right? What does that look like over the Dairy Queen on Lindale? All these just kind of random one-off billboards, and I don't feel like what I've had a chance to understand really answers questions that I have for the ward that I live in. The freeway is in my ward, right? Like, what does that look like? We've recently seen people take things that have been on display, that car that's been there for I don't know how many years, over 94 in Ward 4, that's been taken down, right? And this makes me feel like maybe it could have stayed. It's art, and we're doing some different things with art in the city now on display. So it's just a little, it just doesn't feel clear to me. And I support what Councilmember Cashman is doing. I love that you said there's opportunity for phase 2 or amendments and those things in the future. And I will be in touch to make sure that Ward 4 currently and future projects can benefit from this. I have a lot of questions around revenue estimates and like what that means for what exists in Ward 4, and how do we, is there a way for us to offset some of that revenue to help with the growing property taxes and, the things that people are asking about specifically in my ward? So my office will be in touch to set up a briefing probably before this next meeting. I'm going to support it today, but I really do want to work with you all on what phase 2 of this looks like and how we can make sure that it's beneficial to communities that have billboards, and this is not just like a conversation that has felt like it's about downtown. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much. Seeing no one else, I will ask City Clerk to call
Mr. Chair?
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I apologize for the interruption. Joel Fussy from the City Attorney's Office. I wanted to note, and procedurally, it might be best to vote on Councilmember Cashman's motion that she's put before the committee. I also wanted to note in the LIMS file, in the staff memo document, there is also on the second page a recommended text amendment or motion that just changes a little bit of wording, but it's one that the City Attorney's Office recommends for a different section. It doesn't, it just kind of locks in a couple things on the wording that we think would be advisable to adopt as well. So it's certainly up to you as the chair, but I think it might be best to vote on Councilmember Cashman's initial motion, and then we would ask that somebody also move this subsequent motion after that.
Is there an option to do this on the council meeting, or I haven't seen the language?
I would ask, Chair, if you could send me that proposed amendment, I'd be happy to look at it and then bring it at council next week.
It was the amendment language that was in the memorandum that was
Oh,
sent to this committee.
Just the,
So the clarifications around events and non-related events for off-premises signs are civic, cultural, and sports organization signage, and also event signage. There's just a clarification there. And then a clarification around the requirement that there be a contract in place for a billboard to be constructed on city-owned property.
okay. Fine with that. Let's just take the.
Chair Osmond,
Go
may
ahead.
I just speak? That language is already in the revised ordinance.
Yep, so, yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it.
A lot easier now. All right, first we'll take the Councilmember Cashman amendments. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, on Cashman's amendment. Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Cashman. Aye. Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye. Aye.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Nay.
Chair Osmond.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes and 1 nay.
That motion passes. Now, please call the roll for amended language.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
And Chair Osman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes and no nays.
Thank you so much. That motion passes. All right, we do have one more item left on the agenda. Lastly, we will receive a report presentation on tenant relocation assistant. I will welcome Nicole Gonzalez from Regulatory Services to present that item. Welcome.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Osman and committee members. My name is Nicole Gonzalez, the Manager of Regulatory Services Alternative Enforcement Team. I'm here today to present on the Tenant Relocation Assistance Legislative Directive. This legislative directive requested information in 3 primary areas. As you can see here, it's always our goals to minimize displacement and support renters who face complex housing situations. So we appreciate the opportunity to respond to this legislative directive and share about the ways we can prevent and respond to displacement. As it relates to this legislative directive, it's important to understand when a renter qualifies for assistance and how funds are given and recovered by the city. Tenant relocation assistance helps renters who are displaced due to severe maintenance or repair issues caused by a property owner's negligence. When both of these conditions are met, renters may qualify for relocation assistance equals to 3 months of the rent that they pay. When a renter qualifies for relocation assistance, we issue an order to the property owner. They have 2 weeks to pay the funds. They can appeal it within that time. If they do not pay the funds, then the city does. If the city pays the funds, then the rental property owner must pay back the city, and if they choose not to, it goes to a property tax assessment. The city is only allowed to recover relocation funds from a property owner because the owner held liability in the issue. That means that events caused by factors outside the property owner's control, such as arson, criminal activity, natural disasters, and issues affecting only part of the unit do not qualify. The process of collecting payments from a property assessments typically takes several years. In most cases, the quickest timeline for collection is approximately 2 years. Some assessments may never be collected if the property owner fails to pay the property taxes and the property goes through tax forfeiture. As we talk about the recovery rate of funds, it's important to remember how long it can take to recover these funds. Between 2021 and 2024, we've given $170,523 to displaced renters in need. We've been very grateful to be able to offer this as a resource to renters when they are facing tough circumstances. As for the amount of funds recovered by the city, while the amount looks low at this point in time, it does not capture the full picture. As I mentioned, recovering costs can take years as cases work their way through the appeals or special assessment process. As of the end of October, there's nearly $77,000 in funds that could still be recovered in the future. Some of these cases are in the phase where the property owner still has time to voluntarily pay back the city, and others are working their way through the normal assessment hearing process, which will give us another chance to collect the money through property tax special assessments. There are also some unique cases that further contribute to this number being lower, such as properties that went into tax forfeiture or the city waived the repayment of funds due to the owner showing proof that they were not negligent. One final factor that skews this data is the Bell-Lofts case. In this situation, residents were displaced by flooding, and although the city issued relocation assistance, we couldn't recover all the funds after learning that the sprinkler system had been properly maintained. After we provided the renter assistance, the property owner provided proof that he was not at fault, so we negotiated to allow only a partial reimbursement of the support we gave to renters. Now that we have a solid foundation of the current program, I'll address needed resources and policy framework for an expanded tenant relocation assistance that covers temporary displacement. As my team and I worked to answer this legislative directive, we worked closely with the city attorneys. We found that the only way we could legally provide assistance for temporary displacement, meaning situations where the property owner was not at fault, is by the city awarding a grant to renters. To be clear, the city would not recover these funds from property owners because asking them to pay for relocation when they were not at fault would violate their due process. Additional staff, such as inspectors and supporting roles, may also be needed to fully implement this, and we would need to conduct a full staffing study to determine how many staff would be needed. We would use the city-funded grant for two primary instances. The first, force majeure events, also known as acts of God, such as tornado or fire damage, that are beyond the control of both the property owner and the renter. Secondly, for actions also beyond the property owner's control that could result in the property being condemned. Assistance for the renter would go until the unit is inhabitable again, the tenant has relocated, the maximum length of time for assistance is reached, or when a renter's insurance kicks in. We recommend 3 timeline categories for different levels of assistance. For immediate assistance would be up to 24 hours, an emergency hotel voucher or a stipend. For short term is 24 to 72 hours or up to 30 days for repairs happening but are not immediately resolved. And midterm from 30 to 60 days for major system repairs requiring more times and re-inspections. There are notable challenges related to these timelines. These are operational considerations for staff, but they're worth noting as council considers resource needs for such a policy. First, cutting a check for relocation assistance right now takes 2 weeks under city processes. Because approvals are required from multiple teams in regulatory services and other departments, we may not be able to provide financial assistance as quick as a policy would require. Secondly, we would likely need resources such as long-term contracts with hotels throughout the city that could quickly take in people when needed, and we want to have multiple options throughout Minneapolis so people could stay as close to their homes as possible. Thirdly, providing assistance to a larger number of displaced renters, such as apartment buildings that could have 200 to 300 renters, will require greater resources from the city. And then lastly, we regularly have low-income renters decline assistance because accepting the funds may push them above the income thresholds for other support that they receive. We expect to see the same barriers to participating with any assistance for temporary displacement. To help us gauge the potential demand for temporary assistance, we found only 6 cases that were ineligible for tenant relocation assistance over the last 4 years. These were cases where arson caused a fire, a bullet struck the building's fire suppression system causing flooding. In 3 different situations, in order to correct applied to just 1 bedroom, not the entire unit, and then lightning struck a building and caused a fire. This policy is implemented, we could see more demand for temporary assistance as awareness of support increases and more of these cases are brought to the city's attention. But as of now, it appears that there are few cases not currently covered by tenant relocation assistance. If someone needs to relocate because their unit is unfit, there are a couple resources available now. We encourage tenants to get renter's insurance if possible, because if they have it, they may be able to get support during emergencies for temporary housing or personal property losses. Red Cross and emergency partners, the Rental Housing Liaison Team and Regulatory Services collaborates with organizations like the Red Cross to provide immediate shelter and emergency assistance in unforeseen events. Both of these resources may limit the number of times the city would need to step in and provide assistance for temporary displacement. Based on our experience, we know that early intervention can prevent problems that might otherwise lead to displacement. Severe violations such as lack of heat, electrical hazards, or fire damage do not always require renters to move. This is because our team focuses on achieving compliance before issues escalate. Some of the alternative enforcement tools we use include the Emergency Housing Repair Board. This is a board that allows regulatory services, gives reg services the authority to order urgent repairs or take corrective actions when an owner fails to address hazardous conditions. Tenant remedy actions and emergency tenant remedy actions, the legal tools that allow the city in certain cases to seek court orders requiring landlords to make necessary repairs to restore essential services, keeping residents housed safely. Rental license operating conditions, they're custom license conditions that can be voluntarily or imposed on problem properties to ensure compliance, such as more frequent inspections or for a last resort effort to gain compliance before proceeding with revocation action. The Good Cause Program, it allows us to identify and inspect more frequently property managers that have a history of mismanagement. And then portfolio inspections. This allows us to assess and address systemic issues across multiple properties under one common ownership. In closing, the Tenant Relocation Assistance Legislative Directive provided us an opportunity to evaluate how the city can better support renters experiencing temporary displacement while maintaining fairness and legal integrity for property owners. Our analysis shows that expanding the existing Tenant Relocation Assistant Program to include temporary displacement is not legally feasible under its current structure, as it would require charging property owners for situations beyond their control. However, creating a city-sponsored grant offers a lawful and equitable path forward, one that ensures tenants are not left without support when unforeseen events make their homes temporarily uninhabitable. Establishing such a fund would require new resources, cross-departmental coordination, and a clear policy framework to guide when and how assistance is provided. While there are operational challenges to address, particularly around defining timelines and staffing capacity, this approach represents a balanced solution that prioritizes tenant safety, upholds due process, and strengthens the city overall housing stability strategy. Thank you, Chair Osman and committee members, for your time today.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Definitely we can learn a lot from improving tenant relocation program. And one is, my comment is that one is we mentioned that, people think that it's an emergency thing that they start right there to put you in a hotel, but it's not. It's very complicated.
It is.
But we need to get close to that where we're able to reach residents that are, dealing with this crisis and help them. But I know the staff, regulatory staff have been doing a wonderful job with connecting with Red Cross and working with the residents. And I want to praise Director Enrique for his work on that. So thank you so much. With that, I see no one else in queue, so I will ask City Clerk to receive and file.
Thank you.
All right. And seeing no further business before us, with no objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.